Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Therefore, no current or prospective client should assume that the future performance of any specific investment strategy, including the investments and/or investment strategies recommended and/or purchased by advisor, or product made reference to directly or indirectly, will be profitable. Different types of investment involve varying degrees of risk, and there can be no assurance that any specific investment will either be suitable or profitable for a client's investment portfolio. No client or prospective client should assume that any information presented serves as the receipt of or substitute for personalized investment advice from the advisor or any other investment professional.
Welcome to the Bullington Capital Report, hosted by Bill Bullington. For the next hour, you'll receive information on current market conditions and trends that could affect your financial future. If you have a question, you can participate in today's program by calling 216-901-0945. That's 216-901-0WHK. You can also reach Bill by going to his website, bullingtoncapital.com. And now, here's Bill Bullington.
Well, welcome back. Been a lot of stuff going on. It's unbelievable how much stuff goes on now. Actually, there's always been a lot of stuff going on. It's just that we didn't have the internet, and you couldn't keep up with it nearly as easily as you can today. But so I thought today I would talk a little bit about the economy and how it interacts and causes or contributes to the movement of stock prices. And it's not what people think, by the way. The vast majority of people don't watch closely enough to study the moves in the economy and the stock market. And if they did, they would realize that, wow, that thing is not super highly correlated, which means that one doesn't often cause the other one to move right away. And moves unpredictably a lot of times. Sometimes the news is really bad and the market rallies. Then the news is really good and the market goes down. I know you've all seen that. But there's a reason why. And the number one reason I feel like is that people's expectations are more important than the actual numbers. If the numbers are bad, but you see some good stuff coming around the corner, you have a tendency to remain optimistic. Which, by the way, if everybody took that opinion and watched their investments that way, hey, I know I'm in it for the long haul, and in the long run, prices are going to go up. It's part of the whole economic process that's been built here, and it's just hang around long enough and you'll see prices have a tendency to go up. Now, there are some things prices come down. If it's a electronic device that's relatively small, not that expensive, sometimes the expensive ones. I can't believe how much cheaper laptops are today than when I bought my first laptop back in the 1980s. They weren't called laptops then. They were called portable computers. They weighed about 15 pounds, and you could bring them with you. They had a super small screen and a big old keyboard, and they were noisy and they got hot. It was mind-boggling. It's funny to be at this age. I've seen so many things that have come and gone, and I've seen so many things. If you read a lot, today it's a lot easier. You can go to the Fed website. You can subscribe to almost any magazine or newspaper online now. So you got all your stuff in one place. That just makes it a little quicker, although it's a little hard on your eyes, especially as you start to get a little older. But the access to information there, having the time to go through and read everything that you probably need to read, that's going to be tough. But if you really love it, and more power to you, I think it's fascinating. But yeah, it just takes a lot of time, and there are always new sources coming in, new disruptors. I remember years and years and years ago when I was I think it was in the it was around 2004, 2005. Yeah, I was talking about electric cars, and Tesla was not the big leader at that time. Nissan was. Think about that for a second. Nobody even knows. Nissan dropped it and didn't pick it back up again for an incredibly long time period. I mean, they always had it, but they didn't put a lot of emphasis on it. Now they're going more hybrid. Feel like I see more ads for hybrid vehicles. Those are uh, cars that can run on gas or some other sort of fuel, mostly gasoline. And they have also got a big battery system that recharges and it really extends the gas mileage. So, and that was the funny. I read a whole bunch of articles when they figured that out. They thought, oh, this will be the perfect segue into the all electric vehicle market. Well, I guess that's kind of where we are now. Um, there are a whole bunch of those are real popular. They get really good gas mileage. They look kind of funny to me. I'm kind of a big guy, so it's hard for me to fit into those little cars. So I won't be driving it anytime soon. But the just the gas mileage on the existing cars, and what I'm trying to get to here, in the roundabout way, is that the technology is always expanding. It's always growing. It's always creating new markets, and sometimes it's putting old markets out of business. But the oftentimes it'll create a new market or greatly improve the existing market. You look at solar panels, for example. I have a client, such a nice guy, and he's going to lease some of his farmland out to an electric utility to put some solar panels up. And everybody thinks that, uh, well, I don't know, everybody does, but a large percentage of the population thinks that solar panels are not very useful. They're not very effective because there's a lot of propaganda out there that says that kind of stuff. But I'm telling you, they're not reading. They're not reading the right stuff. It's going to continue to develop. They are way more effective. In fact, for a very, very long time, their capacity, their ability to generate electricity on the same land, okay, has been doubling every 5 years. Think about that for a second. And it's not uh, because you're digging up more coal or burning more diesel. It's it's because you're getting more effective. The solar panels are getting more effective at converting sunlight into electricity. Now, maybe that peaks out at some point in time. Um, all the stuff that I read says, yep, we're a long way from being where we're going to be at some point in time. So that's a good thing. And and the reason I'm talking about this stuff is I'm looking at the news. The news is normally pretty negative, but the past couple months it has been unbelievably negative. And it's like nobody's watching what's going on in the stock market. It's barely down. It's actually at the same price as it was in December. So it hasn't moved a lot, and I'm just wondering, like, where are these people reading this or hearing this stuff? I don't know if you're watching cable news, then that is, that's the epitome. Remember those old? I don't know. I know I'm dating myself here, but for you young people, before we had the internet, we had this magazine, and it was called Star Magazine, and it had all of the scandalous uh, stories about Hollywood and the actors and all this stuff. People loved to get it. It was the bestseller. It had a lot of grocery stores. That's where they would pick up their magazines, and it was hilarious. But looking back, it looks really hilarious. And there's still a couple of magazines very similar to that are out there. But that's the kind of stuff that we're getting now. It's actually worked its way into regular media. So I don't believe anything I hear or see or read unless I got several sources corroborating that I've been reading for a long time and feel like these reporters of these publications do a pretty good job of vetting the information. So when you when you get to that point, you can actually skip about probably 9 out of 10 stories that you read, and it blows my mind that these guys that people try to get away with the stuff that they say. I think it is hilarious. But anyway, so I am normally very well entertained because you got a lot of stuff out there. There is no way. By the way, if we do go into a recession, um, this is old stuff, by the way, and I'm not sure where they teach this. I don't know if they teach it in high school these days. I doubt it, but they should. They should start teaching this right around sixth grade, because I think you turn 12 in sixth grade. That's about the time you could get your brain uh, suck in all that information really quickly. That's my theory, because it's not all that complicated. It's not as complicated as algebra is. And I know you started doing algebra by sixth grade. So anyway, they should start teaching economics and monetarist theories. Um, a lot of people like to argue. They think this is politics. It's not. It's financial. It's money. And you can believe whatever you want. And that's what creates markets. People with different beliefs. But anyway, the Federal Reserve System in this country, is unbelievably powerful. And I'm not even sure if I should be repeating this very often. Because if they ever start to politicize the money supply, by the way, the United States was the only country in the world that taught economics as a standalone science. All the other countries around the world taught economics as political economics. And I thought that was super interesting back when I was a kid. As I got older, I saw why. And ours is kind of leaning more towards political economics. You see that different types of political parties lean in certain ways. They like some policies better than others, but everybody likes a good, solid, growing economy. And you have to have a very good, solid banking system to back that up. You can't do one without the other. And so that's really important. We've been incredibly blessed in this country to have the people that are running the Fed. It's unbelievable how smart these people are and how hard they work, diligent they are. And it's mind-boggling. And I think it was the part luck, part skill. But every other country around the world has seen what's going on here. You may have heard, like in history, America being the big experiment. Well, they were talking about something else completely, our political system mainly. But the thing that's really helped out this country grow and maintain its leadership around the world, when you're only 5% of the population around the world, but you consume 25% of the output. And we've been doing that for a really long time. Well, why? It's our banking system. And it's been separate. Presidents are not allowed to determine what's going to go on in the banking system. Thank God. Yeah, because the people that are running the Fed are way smarter than your average politician. It's not even close. But and like I said, thank God. I really think, we were blessed. Somebody came down and God had implanted that in some people's brains way back in the day when they were first starting this, because I know modern day humans are still not smart enough to come up with that on their own. But, anyway, kind of a little joke there, but by the way, the drivers, for everybody that like me, doesn't, I read all the negative news, and man, it's just it's exhausting. So I try to look into the positive side of things, and there's an awful lot. You don't get to where we are, 330 million people population, one of the highest lifestyles standards of living around the entire world with all those people in such a. Well, actually, we're pretty spread out. We have a lot of land, but it's amazing how well this thing operates. I've been told I got a few seconds before I have to take a commercial break. We come back, we're going to talk about what the Fed can do to keep the economy growing and keep the economy nice and strong. This is Bill Bullington. I'm right here on 1420. We'll be back after these messages.
I let go long ago, thinking I knew everything. I let love in my soul, started listening to the choir sing.
We had water seeping up the drain in the basement, and that's always alarming. We had kind of a Band-Aid job done, but we weren't going to go back to them.
And she says, why don't we call Wyatt Works? And I was like, oh, yeah, that's those whistling plumbers.
They are men of a higher caliber. Definitely.
Yeah, we had the pipelining. I was very impressed with that technology. I have peace of mind. I have comfort and assurance now that I never have to worry about the drain.
Everything was top-notch, professional, but friendly and personal.
I was grateful that the liner job was not only cheaper than doing a dig out, but I was really grateful that I didn't have to have all of my concrete tore up and then have a concrete job on top of everything.
I think Wallackadoodle means we did it, it's done, you don't have to worry about it. Amen, hallelujah.
Consider it done at WyattWorks.com.
Wallackadoodle.
Who are the people that serve part-time in the Ohio Army National Guard? We are your neighbors and friends. We are your sons and daughters. Our service is providing us valuable job skills, and it pays up to 100% of our tuition. We're proud to serve our state. We are your Ohio Army National Guard. Learn more about part-time service with the Ohio Army National Guard at nationalguard.com/OH. Sponsored by the Ohio Army National Guard. Aired by the Ohio Association of Broadcasters and this station.
No doubt about it, we're spending more time at home, which is the perfect time to make it more functional and beautiful. Hi, Ed Flash Farron's here for Artistic Renovations, Northeast Ohio's premier and award-winning remodeler. Artistic did a fantastic job with our kitchen in 2016, and last year, they were back for the master bath. Oh, my word. Do yourself a favor and go to artisticreno.com. Believe me, you'll love their ideas and without question the finished product. For a virtual consultation, call 216-520-0838 or visit artisticreno.com. You've heard the saying, all good things come to an end. Well, not always. Sometimes they just take a break. That's what's happening with Our Lady of the Wayside's car donation program after 24 years and 96,000 rides donated. Pretty amazing. Here's the story. The car lot's owners sold the property, making it impossible for car donations to be accepted at this time. According to the Wayside CEO, Terry Davis, the next right steps will be determined and communicated soon, so stay tuned. In the meantime, Terry and the entire team at the Wayside thank you for your continued support of the 450 individuals with developmental disabilities in the Wayside's care. And please take note, you can still support them by making a donation at thewayside.org. Thinking about updating your home? Well, Joyce Factory Direct specializes in replacing old, outdated windows. Proudly made right here in Cleveland, Joyce Windows features their exclusive Smart Shield high-performance glass, which means you'll be getting the most energy-efficient windows for your home directly from the factory. Customers just love how much warmer their house is and how easy their new windows operate and clean. Right now, you can save 50% on all installations. Just call to schedule a free consultation with on-the-spot pricing, 440-243-5700, or visit JoyceFactoryDirect.com.
Well, welcome back. This is Bill Bullington. I'm here every Saturday morning from 11 to noon. If you hear something you'd like more information on, or you'd like to look at your portfolios, get a second opinion, you might be getting close to retirement age and need to get a plan together for how you're going to take the money out. That's interesting, by the way. How am I going to spend the money I spent all these years accumulating? For an awful lot of people, that is an incredibly difficult thing to do, and I don't blame them. I'm probably 10 years from that point myself, but or at least, yeah, probably 10. But I've been doing this my entire life, and I think it's kind of Interesting. It's a tough thing to decide. Um, how much am I going to take? You probably heard about the 4% rule. I like that one a lot. It's try to limit your spending to 4% of whatever you're starting with. Um, yeah, it's got to. Why is it only 4%? Well, because you're going to have to increase it for inflation, and average rate of inflation over the past 30 or 40 years, the average rate has been right around between 4 and 5%. And at that rate, prices double in 20 years. So, and the average retirement now is just a little over 20. It's a little over 20 years. So when you retire, there's a really good chance that by the time you get to the point where you pass away, prices will be actually doubled. Here's something I've never seen factored into that, by the way, is an awful lot of people, somewhere around 40 or 50%, will end up spending some time in a nursing home before they actually pass away. And cost of nursing home has gone up 2 to 3 times the inflation rate. So you got to keep that in mind too. And those are the kinds of things that we try to talk about, try to address when we're looking at doing a retirement income plan for somebody. Most of the time, it's relatively easy, um, especially if somebody waits until a couple of years before they're ready to retire. That's probably not the smartest thing to do. If you're a really good saver, then it's a great thing to do. You've probably saved enough money so that if you only take out 4 or 5%, then your lifestyle is not going to change very much. But if you didn't think about that, you're talking about if you're going to pull out 5% on $500,000, that's only $25,000 a year. That's not a ton of money. So, but like I said, I should I'm going to retract that statement because for a whole lot of people, that is a ton of money. I've got a lot of clients that would go, I would never spend that kind of money, but they've got pensions and Social Security, so that's the main reason why. But and they wouldn't have accumulated a substantial amount of money unless they did have that kind of attitude. And so it's all over the map. One of the reasons I started talking about annuities is I'm looking at what people are doing, and annuities will guarantee a higher rate generally than whatever you're getting in short-term CDs. And the longer you have an annuity and the longer you put off taking the income, the higher the income can go because they're taking your life expectancy, and the longer you live, the shorter the time period they're going to have to pay out for, so they can increase the payments for that. If you'd like to see that, or you just have a question as to how much you think you could get, what's your age now, the nice thing about these are that you don't have to qualify, you don't have to be healthy to have one. For a lot of insurance products, you're trying to get long-term care insurance or life insurance, you have to take a physical exam. And for most of them, for these products, you don't. So basically, it's like life insurance, or it's like income insurance for yourself. When you make investment in these types of products, I've got a couple. I'm just going to turn on when I reach full retirement age through Social Security, so I don't get penalized because they're in my IRA. So at that point in time, then things should be pretty good, and I feel very blessed, feel lucky. Just being born in America, it's mind-boggling how much more we have than other countries do. Anyway, so what I was thinking about, how does the Fed step up to try to pick up an economy that's slowing down? And there are a couple things they can do. First thing they can do is reduce the reserve requirements. They haven't done that in decades, as far as I know. And if I'm wrong, please correct me. But I don't believe they've done that in decades. They did that in the 1970s 1980s. I was just in high school, and I remember studying that stuff and going, "Wow, why are they doing this?" And you had a money market account. My grandmother, who was still alive at that time, had a money market account, and she was getting 18% interest. Can you imagine? 18% on a money market. It wasn't for very long, but it got there. And uh, one of the problems, my grandfather had an accident, passed away, and there was an insurance payout. So she had enough money to live on. And at 18%, she was actually getting more interest income than he had ever earned in his entire life. And it was just mind boggling. Nobody had seen anything like that. And by the way, even desktop computers were not a thing back then. So you had local newspapers all over the place, large local newspapers. That was our source of information. It's just we weren't plugged in as well as we are now. They didn't teach a lot of this stuff in high school, so hardly anybody knew a whole lot about money. And I remember people thinking that stocks were only for rich people. Literally. Oh, what do you think? You're rich? You're investing in stocks? Yeah. Well, if you want to get rich, that's how poorly information was being disseminated around the country. And it's just mind-boggling that all this stuff that happened during my lifetime. And now I know how my grandparents felt when they were in their 60s, and I was talking to them about their childhoods, and they a lot of them had wood-burning stoves for heat in their house. So, what's my point to all this? Well, my point is that nothing is as constant as change. Change is coming. It's always been coming. It's never going to stop coming. And that's what makes investing so difficult. Yeah, you've got to try to factor in, okay, what do you think? How much do you think inflation, what do you think inflation is going to be? And you're guessing, by the way. It's a guess. Nobody anticipated that you'd see inflation as high as it was for as long as it was in the mid-70s and early 80s. That was not anticipated, I promise you. And it took a long time for that to work itself out. And we've had it pretty good. The last 10, 15 years, from an inflation standpoint, are actually very good. So, what am I saying? Is inflation going to sneak up and start to come up? I hope not. The Fed's a lot more proactive now than they were back in those days, and we've also got all that experience behind us, and they've had the ability to go back and study and see what worked, what didn't work, and because again, things are always changing. It's not going to work exactly the same way it is, but by and large, somebody who's got a lot of experience with it will do some better than somebody who doesn't. I make a long story short, I really think like that we are in a pretty decent place economically, and there are so many things that are changing, that are happening right now, that are really, really good for the economy. It's good for the entire world. And I've been talking about a lot of this stuff for quite a long time. It takes a long time to get put together, and you do see certain things starting to fall into place. It's never going to happen as quickly as I would like it to, but or anybody else that I know of for that matter, because I'm actually more conservative than that. But the changes are coming, and I promise you, there's enough work out there, there are enough ways for us to improve the lifestyles of people all over the entire world. This is going to go on for generations. Just kind of the way things naturally progress. So this 4% growth rate, that's what I've been hearing people calling for right now, and that's that's actually pretty good. What does that mean for interest rates? Interest rates are starting to come down. Interest rates had been a little higher than they had been for an incredibly long time period. When they got as low as they did, I remember talking about that too. It was about 8 years, before we saw the interest rates break below 1% on payment, not on loan. And but again, all this stuff is very long term. So where are we now? Well, it looks like we're on the other end of the cycle. And actually, things are going pretty well economically. So they'll start to continue to creep interest rates up. That inflation's actually been creeping up pretty quickly. And does that mean there's going to be a crash? Nope. Doesn't mean that at all. It could be stuck going sideways for quite a while. Valuations are not super cheap. They're actually, the way that I look at it, I just look at the earnings yield on the S&P 500, or actually the Russell 3000. You want a bigger look. You can look at the Russell 1000 too. That's the top 1,000 companies by size. The S&P 500 is the top 500 companies by size. The only reason I'm hesitant on that one is that the top 50 stocks make up over half. The top 50 stocks in the S&P 500 make up over half of the value of that index. I don't feel like that. Personally, I don't feel like you're taking in all the companies and where that might be by spreading that out over 1,000 names. That would be the Russell 1000. I think you're getting more of other companies in there. Probably not going to keep up to the S&P 500 because over the past, 20 years, the biggest, largest companies have been growing the fastest. Smaller companies that are coming out, a lot of them have been acquired by some of the bigger companies, which happens often. So I guess to make a long story short here, I just like to use the Russell 1000. It is so close to the S&P 500, it just makes me feel better because I got 1,000 names in there instead of the 500. Now, if you want to push to win, if you want to be in it to win it, if you want to really try to increase the returns on your stock side, there's a Russell 1000 Growth ETF. If you don't like ETFs, I do, by the way. I'm going to talk more about that in future shows. But I can mimic that, the Russell 1000 Growth Index. I'm only taking the top 40 stocks out of that index because that index only has 100 stocks in it anyway. But if you really wanted to do stocks, really like stocks, I'm trying to build this model, and I'm not done with it yet. But the preliminary, I already know it's going to be a good, solid performer. But I just haven't finished all the rest of the work yet. But the whole concept is to line up all the stocks in Russell 1000 and say, okay, over the past 6 months, which 40 stocks have done the best? And then you just equally invest in that. And each month you have to come back and do that again. So you're going to, if it drops out of the top 40, it's gone. If it's in the top 40, it stays. You will not want to do this in a taxable account. I promise you. You are not going to want to see all those little tiny transactions. By the way, that's one of the things I like about an exchange-traded fund is that same activity is going on. In fact, most of them are turning over more frequently than that is. But you get a ton of turnover in the funds, but you don't have to see it, nor do you have to pay taxes on the ones that I'm using. All those little transactions are considered tax deferred. They're not tax free, but they're tax deferred. Whenever you sell the fund's shares, you'll pay on the capital gain of the share cost, the fund, not on all the transactions inside the fund. With a traditional mutual fund, you have to pay on all the little transactions inside the fund. I only got about 15 or 20 seconds before I got to take another commercial break. Yeah, this is Bill Bullington. I'm right here on 1420. When we come back, we'll talk about what you can do to try to reduce those taxes on funds. And so stay tuned.
I'm the child of a loving father. I'm a part of the family.
God is not done with America. God has a church that is more hungry and seeking His face than ever before. Come on down and witness a move of God at Strongsville Christian Church Pentecostal for our Holy Ghost and Fire services every Sunday at 11 a.m. and Sunday night at 6 p.m. God is pouring out His Spirit upon all flesh. This is Pastor Joseph Collini, and I am honored to hear ongoing testimonies of healing, signs, and wonders at the hands of Jesus. Strongsville Christian Church is a Pentecostal church that is located at 19132 Temple Drive in the beautiful city of Strongsville. For more information, visit us online at strongsvillechurch.com or visit us on Facebook, Strongsville Christian Church. Don't miss out on your breakthrough and blessings that is waiting for you at Strongsville Christian Church.
Do you ever find yourself saying, I need a vacation? Vacation Fixation can help. At Vacation Fixation, we specialize in all-inclusive trips and cruises to Mexico, the Caribbean, and Disney vacations. Why choose us? Our clients book through Vacation Fixation because they are frustrated with online trip brokers and timeshare scams. Whether it's a weekend getaway, a family trip, spring break, or honeymoon, Vacation Fixation will personalize a trip just for you. Want to know the hottest destinations in Cancun, Punta Cana, Jamaica, or Puerto Vallarta? Interested in room upgrades, beach reviews, or details about resort restaurants? How about finding a trip with a direct flight? At Vacation Fixation, we take all of your specific travel requests and shop our suppliers to find the best deal. What's the cost? Our suppliers pay us so you don't have to. Call 330-573-8147 for more details. Or you can visit our website at vacationfixation.com or check out the deal of the day on Facebook. Vacation Fixation.
Hey, it's Bob France. Join us Monday morning for some Strictly Speaking at 9 o'clock. We'll talk to Congressman Jim Jordan. The confirmations are pretty much all done. Where do we go from here? That'll be at 9:35. And coming up at 10:05, Monday morning, Vivek Ramaswamy joins us with a very important announcement. You might be able to guess what it is. Monday at 9 on AM 1420, The Answer.
Is it finally time to update your bathroom? Bath Planet, a division of Joyce Factory Direct, specializes in replacing and converting old showers and tubs into new, beautiful bathrooms in as little as one day. We have transformed thousands of bathrooms just like yours into a spa-like oasis that has homeowners excited to use their new bathtub or shower. Right now, all bath installations are 50% off. So call to schedule a free consultation with on-the-spot pricing. 440-243-5700 or visit JoyceFactoryDirect.com.
Well, welcome back. Hey, this is Bill Bullington. I'm here every Saturday morning from 11 to noon. If you'd like to reach out to me, my website's bullingtoncapital.com, or you can call us at 330-664-0700. And by the way, I would probably use the email at bill@bullingtoncapital.com. I cannot believe how many issues we've been having with our phone service. And we are not that far from civilization. Actually, we're in Fairlawn. So it is blowing my mind. I feel like, what was it? Green Acres. Remember the phone system? Now I'm really aging myself because I was a kid when that show was popular. But anyway, so give us a call. We'll try to get in touch with you as quickly as we can. Try to help you out if you need a retirement income plan. I've been doing a lot with annuities these days for a few years now. For a long time, I didn't really do a whole lot with them. I didn't think they were as competitive as they are now. And a lot of the products that I was using didn't exist back in those days. So it is it's something that if you want more information on it, I'm free to ask me. I have this tone of voice like all the time. So basically who I am. I'm not going to try to pressure anybody into doing something that they don't want to do. My job is to try to help you achieve what you want to achieve. And the probably lots of things that I'll know in most cases that you may not, because this is what I do for a living. So there's a lot of benefit there, or can be, but not always. I've run into people all the time. I'm thinking, wow, you could have been a financial advisor, no sweat. And it's kind of one of those things where either get it or you don't. I think the ones that are really super smart are the ones that go, I could put the kind of time in to get all this, but I really don't. There are other things I want to do with my life. And so that's basically how I would be if I were not in this industry. I want to know that somebody's looking out for me, trying to do the best job they can, understands markets, understands why stocks do what they do. Well, by the way, nobody really knows why they do what they do in the short run. In the long run, companies have a tendency to keep up with their price or the growth rate in their sales, which should make sense. But here I am looking at AT&T, and in 2020, with $29. Here we are in 2025, and it's only $26.62. And that dividend that a lot of people used to buy that stock, I used to hear that all the time. I'm going to buy AT&T. It's got a nice dividend. Well, okay. The peak on the share price, by the way, came in 1999. Was at $44, and at 26 now. In 2003, it was only 14, and then in 2007, got up to 32. In 2009, got down to 15.70, and today it's at 26. It's super volatile. It really hasn't gone up a lot, and the main reason for that is because their growth in sales has not been, it hasn't been consistent, put it that way. And it's very difficult for a lot of really big, older, especially companies that are in those types of industries, to have their increases in sales go up pretty consistently. And that's one of the reasons I like funds. The funds that I'm using, I have the vast majority of my funds in growth funds. And I'm going to recommend, even if you're older, that you use growth ETFs if that's what you if you want to make more money relative to the value-oriented funds. Value-oriented funds, technically, they're supposed to be safer because they're selling closer to their book values. But something I've noticed over the years is that most companies don't sell close to their book values. The book value is just an estimation of what their assets are worth. You can argue and look at it a million different ways. I just look at the ones that are published. And because, again, you could spend days just trying to figure out what the real book value is, and then you're probably going to be wrong. So a good rough estimate is better than being really, really accurate, especially when you realize what kind of reward you're going to get for spending the extra time to get down to that last penny on the book value. Not a good idea. Not a good waste. Not a good use of your time. And but there are funds out there that are more value oriented that are leaning towards that calculation of book value, which is very difficult to get right. Secondly, it hurts the performance of the fund. I would only use the actual index fund itself and the growth fund. So that's your tip for today. If you're looking at ETFs, and there's a word value in there, it's not the worst. And theoretically, the risk is a little bit lower, but that lower risk ends up getting you a little bit less return. It's very close. Probably even shouldn't have spent that much time on it, but it is super close. But I just like to have all the odds in my favor. In fact, the models that I'm working on for stocks, for individual stocks, are really takeoffs on the growth model on the ETF. I'm just going to hold fewer stocks. I'm probably going to try to rebalance on a monthly basis. And so far, it looks like it's going pretty well, and it'll be a few weeks though before I can. It might be a couple months. I don't even know. We're working on it, and sometime by summer, I should have these other models out. And one of the things I really like about it is all the stocks that I've just bought and held over the years. There aren't very many because I don't really see that many companies that I'd like to do that with. They come from those models, so they show up there. I look at it. It's like Procter and Gamble. I've had that thing for freaking ever, and they came up on a momentum model, and that was a long time ago. And I looked at their products and said, yeah, I'll take that. And I've got a whole bunch of those products in my house. So basically kind of Warren Buffett style, simple businesses that you understand. I understand Tide, that's the Procter & Gamble product, one of their bigger products. I understand cleaning supplies. I think I do. I don't understand the chemistry behind it, but I know what it's used for. I know what the prices are. I can see their profit margins on their financial statements pretty good. So I'm just rambling now, but I got a few more minutes here. If you want more information on anything you've heard from this show, just go to bullingtoncapital.com, or I'm sorry, just email me, bill@bullingtoncapital.com. And I was just looking at the world population. Looks like the growth rate's still like right around 1%, which is a lot when you get 8.6 billion people. The actual rate was around 0.87. But I don't even know. Like statistics, you don't really have to be that close. It's like statistics in a lot of areas are like horseshoes, close count. So anyway, and I've just been talking about the growth. This is what you have to remember. When you see all the bad news that's out there, and it's so easy to get caught up in it, and changes your mood, changes your outlook on life. Just remember, economies around the world are still growing. The population is still growing. All these new people coming into this world are going to need electronic devices because that's just the way it is. And now in a lot of areas, they don't have them. Not yet, anyway. But you can bet as these economies grow and expand and have more disposable income, it's good news for those industries. Fact of the matter is, a lot of those things wear out relatively quickly and have to be bought again. I'm not super fond of that, but it's just the way it is. So, in other words, around the world, everything that the demand is still very strong, and there's still growth. Everything else the stuff that gets in the way, it's political, and there's not a ton that we can do about that. In America, we're pretty lucky. You can go vote on local and all the way up to the president. So you do get to have somewhat of a say in that. Even if it's only one vote, that when you add them all up together, they count. So we've got a really good people in the Fed, and I think they've convinced the people who wanted to take over the Fed politically for political reasons. They've been stopped so far, and it's not that they didn't try, but they just know better than to go there. And again, that's where this country's been incredibly blessed, because we have had some excellent presidents of the Fed, and thank God. I look back at what these guys did when they were doing it, and this is not the stuff that they do is not very old. It's not been around for hundreds of years. I mean, they really started using it effectively. I think late 70s, early 80s, and up until that time, they really didn't have that good of a grip on what they needed to do. And I remember when Paul Volcker came in, and man, that dude was he got appointed, and president said, "Hey, how do we fix this?" And he said, you'll go down as one of the worst presidents that's ever lived if you let me do what I need to do. And it was Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter said, well, will it work? And he said, yes, it'll work. He said, well, then go ahead and do it. And, of course, everybody hates Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter is kind of like the weight loss doctor that forces his client to stop eating all their favorite foods. It might extend their life, but they don't like it. And I'm in that camp, so I know what that's like. But anyway, in the end, it's not the end yet, and it's working out very, very well. And with the major grower, what are the major growers? What's going to keep the economy going? It's electricity. And the fact that we have electric cars, the fact that everything that we run is running on electricity now. And they got it's unbelievable how far-reaching that is, and what a big portion of the economy it is. And that's on top of all the other things that we're all doing. And I only got about 40 seconds here, so I guess I should start to say goodbye. This is Bill Bullington. I'm here every Saturday morning from 11 to noon. Every morning would be really tough. But if you'd like to reach out to me, my website is bullingtoncapital.com. You can email me, bill@bullingtoncapital.com. Hope you guys have a good week, good investing. Good luck.
You just caught another edition of the Bullington Capital Report, broadcasting every Saturday at 11 a.m. on AM 1420, The Answer. If you have a question and you'd like to speak to Bill personally, you can call him at 330-664-0700. That's 330-664-0700. Or online at bullingtoncapital.com. That's bullingtoncapital.com.
The preceding program has been paid for by Bullington Capital Management, LLC.